This episode of Quilt Makers Lessons in Creativity is brought to you by Northcott, cottons that feel like silk, and FOF, perfection starts here. Hi, this is Quilt Makers Lessons in Creativity, series number 3 and episode number 2. So glad you joined me. I'm Jenny K. Parks. If you want to know more about me, you can go to my website, jennykquilts.com. But I bet you want to know a lot more about this quilt behind me, Let Freedom Ring. It was designed by Carolyn Beam, and it is in the Quilt Makers July-August 2016 edition, so be sure to check it out. Last time we covered how to make that block, just a simple log cabin block. Today we're going to talk about the all-important 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I tell people there are no rules with quilting, but there are realities. And one of the realities is everything is based on an accurate 1/4 inch seam. If you don't have that, you're going to have cascading problems through the whole thing. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and I'm going to share with you a couple of ideas of ways that you can make it happen, and I'm going to show you some other block options that we can do. Okay, so I have a couple strips here. Let me show you these guys here. This is a 1/4 inch foot, and you can see, and it has these marks on it, right? These red lines, and that shows you like this is a 1/4 inch in front of your needle. This is exactly at your needle, and that's a 1/4 inch behind. And this part of the flange here measures at a 1/4 inch. So you know if you line the fabric up, I'll do it on this edge here so you can see that. If you line the fabric up just right, you're going to have a 1/4 inch seam allowance right there. This one also has a little flange, which is really cool. You can see that flange hanging down, and that helps to keep the fabric in line, right? Because, you know, it's prone to wander, and it'll get out of the way. So this will help keep it corralled and in line, and I really like that. If you want to up your level of an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance, this baby's going to do the job for you. But if you don't have that, if that's not an option for your machine for whatever reason, there are a couple other options. One, this is a magnetic seam guide. Now, you don't want to get the magnet around any of the computerized stuff on your machine. You want to avoid that. But it will work great because you just put it on your machine and then you line it up on the 1/4 inch line, and then the fabric will stay in there and be very obedient. I like to use this when I'm sewing with Minky or any plush stuff, anything that's really full and fluffy, and that helps to keep it all corralled and in line for you. Other things that I've heard, you like to use Postit Notes, a little stack of Postit Notes right next to it, or a little stack of painter's tape. You know, they'll line that up on there. So there's lots of different options. Again, try the way that's going to work for you. Find out what's going to work best for you, but it's really critically important that you have an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to show you how I do one, and we'll measure it, and we'll give a little test for me, huh? Okay. All right, so I have my 2 strips here. And this 1/4 inch foot that I'm using is a clear 1/4 inch foot, just because I like that. A clear 1/4 inch foot, and it has a flange as well. So that is another option. Now I like to line it up. I'm really kind of the anti-pinner. I don't pin little strips like this. I just go. But I may stop in the middle to line it up if you need to. That's something you want to be careful of. Sometimes the 1/4 inch seam allowance can get off because the piece that's underneath slid out. You know, so you want to avoid those things. You want to be careful of that and make sure both the pieces are lined up there. See, look at that. Isn't that lovely? All right, let's press it. Now, we want to press to the dark. I always say press to the dark unless there's a compelling reason to do otherwise. If we had several little triangle pieces that were going to go together or making stars or something, you want to follow their pressing directions. But for us, what we're doing, we're pressing everything out in our log cabin block. But I'm just going to start here. We're going to press to the dark. And that means that you want the seam allowance to be folded towards the darkest fabric that you have. So let me get my fingers underneath there. And when you're pressing, you don't want to be really aggressive when you're pressing. But you do want to make sure you don't press in any folds or any wrinkles that are going to cause you problems as you're measuring and trying to cut it off and join it to different pieces. That is enough to do it. All right, let's look at that. Lovely, nice and straight 1/4 inch. I should measure that though, because you might not believe me. You might think the teacher didn't do it right. So I'll check for you. Be a little pop quiz. Ooh. Oh, look at that. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Okay, accurate 1/4 inch seam. That's the first hurdle. If you conquer that, everything else with quilting is just learning how to do one more thing at the next time. So let me pull this over here. My yarn. All right. Slide those out here for a minute. So last time we had our block, that's just like the one behind me, we had lights and darks, or it would be a cream color and either a red or a blue. And here is kind of a more scrappy variation of that. So I'm just going to put these last few strips on, and then I'm going to show you. These are 1930s fabrics, which I have to confess, if I see them in the shop, that's not what appeals to me. It doesn't grab my eye. But seeing them laid out here, it's just really exciting. I may be won over. All right, so we're just going to fold this down on here and come and sew. Now I'm trying to be mindful, making sure my little seams underneath don't flip up as I'm sewing. Oh, keep that straight there. Don't drive all crazy, Jenny. Okay. I get to talking and I start moving my hands. That could cause me problems. All right, so I did mention pressing. I want you to see how this one is pressed with everything towards the darks, but you can also press it all so it's going out. And my secret, my best advice with pressing is that if the pattern says press in this direction or press in that direction, do what they say. There is some secret in there which you are going to find out about, and if you haven't followed their instructions, then you might miss out and have to rip. I mean, not that I ever have made any goofies like that. All right. And we're going to put on this fella right here. That's our next. As we're going to put the log cabin block together, you go counterclockwise in this way. There will be some other ways that I'll show you throughout the series. Ways of putting it together. Again, I'm trying to mind that fold so it doesn't pop up on me. I'm going to make sure it's cozied up there. Voila, I've got a little bit hanging over, but that's all right. You know what, I'm just going to include him. If you find that you're coming out with things that are not measuring correctly or not, not even, a lot of it can be because of the accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that would be the first thing, kind of to forensically look underneath your block and see, okay, what am I doing wrong? Where did I mess up on my seam allowance? Is that the problem? Sometimes the problem can be cutting something, right? You think, oh yeah, I just cut here, it's 11 inches, and actually it's 11.5 or something like that. It's easy to do, so that can also cause you a lot of problems. All right, last strip to go on. So if you find you get renegades, if you find you have stuff that's a little bit too long, it needs to be trimmed, that's all right. Just trim it. No shame in that. You can trim it and learn for the next time. I like to say that you don't rip very much. I like to avoid ripping. My thought is I want to learn from my mistake. I want to look at it and then I want to go forward. I don't want to spend all our time just going back. You can go back, look at it. What can I learn from this experience? And apply that to the next time. How can I do it better for the next time? So you notice I am pressing this just a little bit. I think heating up the fabric before you flip it over, I think you get a lot better results when you're pressing. Look at that. Isn't that sweet? Oh, I just love that. I love it. Okay, So there's our block, and now I'm going to pull these in here, and I want to show you some different variations and kind of how they might go together. You can see behind me the setting that it's all in there, but this one is going to be, I'm going to do kind of a different setting and just give you an idea of different stuff, how it might go together, how you could lay it out. Set that there very gently. Oh, look at that. Isn't that adorable? A little table topper, or I mean, just a whole baby quilt. It's so cute, so cute. So if I wanted to change it, we certainly could. We could make them all so they went this way. Oh, what am I doing? There we go. That's just a different variation there. Or we could do it so that, all right, so the light is here, and now the light's going to be on that one, and then continue on in that same way. So let's see here. Oh, there we go. There we go. So you can see how you kind of get a path of the light going through there and a path of the color. Oh, that'd be so cool. Anyways, there's a lot of freedom and a lot of things that you can do with the log cabin block. So I hope you're getting excited. I hope you're getting your strips together and making up some stuff. The next time we're going to talk about changing the size, oh, this is good here, changing the size of this center block. What if you want something bigger and nicer to go in there? What if you want a bigger piece? So we'll talk about that next time. I hope you join me. That'll be episode number 3, and I'll see you there. This episode of Quilt Makers Lessons in Creativity is brought to you by Northcott, cottons that feel like silk, and FOF, perfection starts here.